She circled the cabin, which looked a lot worse up close, went through the back gate and up the steep slope to the barn. Everything felt strangely off, like stepping through a mirror and seeing things the wrong way around. The barn, it appeared, was the only building Great Man had worked on since taking over. The only thing, besides the vines, that he seemed to care about. It was enormous and built right into the boulders that crowned the mountain, with fresh boards and a perfectly straight door that hung slightly ajar. Tentatively, Abby knocked on the thick wood. Too quiet, he wouldn't hear a thing from inside, but she felt hesitant, waited. What if he doesn't give me a job? Just a few months ago, while Hamish was dying, the place had been a hive of activity. She'd barely had time to glance outside, much less spy on the neighbor. This place, so silent now that she desperately needed help, intimidated her. But nothing would be worse than going back without accomplishing her goal. "Hello?" She hated how small she sounded. "Anyone here? Mr. Halfway through the door, she stopped. Mr. Grape Man, she'd been about to say, but that would be strange, wouldn't it? It was time to adjust to the way people spoke outside. "Hello?" she called, louder, urging herself to move farther in. One step, then a second, brought her through a dark vestibule hung with metal equipment. Tall boots lined one wall, and across from her stood a door, which proved to be locked. This roadblock gave the turmoil in her belly nothing to do, nowhere to go. Weighted by hopelessness, she turned and walked back outside. All the while, precious time passed. When would they send someone after her? Not for a couple hours at least. From this height, everything splayed out beneath her looked like toys. The cabin reminded her of something she'd played with as a child. The chickens, as artificial as the squat, happy animals from that same fold-away barnyard. Oh, gracious! There he was. She stood frozen for a few seconds, eyes fixed on the man who looked nothing like the plastic farmer from that long-ago toy. I'm doing this. This is real. He's real. Her stomach twisted as she finally forced herself to move and scrambled down the rocky slope, half excited, half nervous. She was close when the man finally noticed her. Close enough to feel tiny in comparison to his towering, long-limbed frame. Close enough to see how graceful his movements were, despite his imposing size. Close enough to see his eyes widen in surprise and his high forehead crease into a scowl. From the top of his unruly hair and unshaven face over faded work clothes, which strained immodestly on his shoulders and arms, to the tip of his muddy boots, everything about this man loomed as darkly foreboding as the mountain. She took him in for a beat or two, waiting for some sign of welcome from this man whose size did nothing to allay the fears she'd plowed through to get here. The hope she depended on to counter the many, many risks. He offered no kindness at all, no neighborly hello, or hand raised in greeting. Abby almost stepped back, intimidated, but there was no choice. There'd be no leaving here without a job. Judging from the entrenched look of his frown, she'd have bet those immobile lips hadn't twisted into anything resembling a smile in years. As she forced herself to step forward into his shadow, the lines around his eyes deepened. Make that decades. "Good morning, sir," she forced in her friendliest voice. Surely he'd hear the cracks beneath the surface, that edge of desperation. He opened his mouth, but before he had a chance...